exhausted, Mama. You need to nap for 2 hours each afternoon just to make it through the day. You feel brain fog, overwhelmed, easily frustrated, and stressed all the time. Stamina and patience for the kids is practically non-existent. There is barely enough energy and mental capacity to keep yourself going, let alone the whole family. You feel like you aren't cut out for motherhood. If that's you, I'm so glad that you pushed play to this episode. You need to know that there is hope and help, and the answer is in the place that you would never think to look. Mama, you can have your life back. My guest today felt exactly as I described, and she tells us how she got her life back. Let's go. You're listening to the Renewed Mama podcast. I'm Kimberly Mutar, and I help mamas like you stay renewed. Renewed in your thoughts that are on repeat while you wash dishes or scrub the toilets. Renewed in the words that you say to yourself and to your children when it's the best day ever and when it spirals into chaos and temper tantrums. Renewed in how you respond so that you keep showing up as the mama you want to be. Wait, Mama, there is more of us to renew. We are whole people. In order to renew all of us as moms, we need to focus on more than just our thoughts, our words, and our responses. So for the next few weeks, we will focus specifically on our health and our home environment. We'll talk about nutrition, sugar cravings, balancing your hormones, exercising, supporting your adrenal and thyroid, pelvic floor health, detoxing your home, and more. Today we're talking about gut health and how much gut health impacts our emotions, our resiliency, focus, and mood. My special guest is Rachel Vanden Heuvel. Rachel is a homeschool mom of 3 boys. She is a certified mental wellness coach, helping families go from stuck to surviving in their life with a focus on the gut-brain connection and how that impacts all areas of health, especially emotional resiliency, focus, and mood-related challenges. Rachel shares her and her family's health journey and how she navigated a son who is a picky eater. Enjoy this episode. Hello, Rachel. Welcome to the Renewed Mama podcast.
Hi, glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited for our conversation. I know that you have so much to share from your own health journey and that of your husband's and your 3 boys. So tell us how it all began.
Oh goodness, we could be here a while, but I'm going to do my best to condense it down. So my husband and I got married about 17 years ago, and this is sort of where our health journey began, so to speak. My husband dealt with severe stomach cramps that would send him to the hospital, and through the medical system, we found out that he just had IBS, and we weren't really happy with that. And so that kind of sent us down this path of being able to figure out what was going on with his health. So we were able to use our naturopath and some testing that they did to find out that he had a lot that was going on in his body that was actually contributing to a lot of what was going on. And so that was really, really helpful for us. Within the first 7 or 8 years of our marriage, we also walked through an infertility journey. And I really credit a lot of that to my choice, not knowing any better, to go on birth control. And so that was quite a journey for both of us, kind of happening at the same time. Birth control did not make me a nice person. And it was a really, really challenging time for us. About, I guess in 2010, my husband was actually in a motor vehicle accident and fractured some discs in his spine. And then fast forward a few more years, he also contracted a Lyme-like bacteria called Q fever that was just like a whole other journey for us. He wasn't functional. He couldn't work. it was a lot during that time. And then we're coming up to the 1 year mark of him having a little accident here on our property and breaking his leg and needing surgery. So that sounds like a lot for him, but it really plays into my health journey, so to speak, and where I kind of found myself. So when you walk through all of that stuff as a young wife, and then like our son was born, our first oldest son was born in 2014 through IVF. Like there was just a lot going on for me, and I had a lot of stored trauma in my body. I was constantly in fight or flight, but I didn't know that at the time. I just really felt like I wasn't myself and I could not figure it out. Our oldest son, he'll be 10 this year. He is a deeply feeling kid, or what they would call a highly sensitive personality. And that has also been not a struggle, but a challenge we've had to walk through as a family because he's so sensory. He feels things deeply. Sleep has always been a struggle for him. It's just been a lot. And so we have 3 boys now, and I'm so grateful for each of them, but they're all unique. And I would say they all have a level of, like a highly sensitive personality or neurodivergence, however you want to use that term. And so how we've had to navigate parenting and all of that stuff has been just different than most. And so like all of that combined really plays into my own, health journey. And throughout all that time, like we've done a lot of counseling, we've done a lot of alternative health things as well that have just been helpful. And yeah, it's been a wild ride.
Right. Well, you certainly have been very open to researching and trying to understand and to meet the needs that you had for you and yourself and your husband, your kids.
Countless hours. Yes. I mean, at first you kind of do it, but I was in such a place of survival for so many of those years. I don't really remember it. It was just like, I have to do this because I'm not okay with the options that are being given to me. But I'm not okay with where this is and what life looks like. Like there has to be ways that we can help, whether it be through like having to work on my own parenting and heal my inner child to be able to communicate to them better, whether it be through nutrition, which was part of what I did too. I was a Trim Healthy Mama coach for a long time, and I still very much live and use their principles in the way that we feed our family here at home. So yeah, there's just, it's countless hours, but I've just seen God's faithfulness throughout that time and where I am now in my life. All of those difficult things that I thought there was no way I was going to make it through, He's now using them and allowing me to be able to share our story to encourage others. And that's exactly why I'm here.
And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing about the things that we go through, when we can use them to bless others and to help and to show that they're not alone, right? I mean, I'm sure that you felt alone at times.
Most definitely. But I've seen even how God provided in those moments with like bringing certain people into our life that would be like, hey, have you thought about trying this? Hey, have you looked into this thing or whatever? Like this is part of my story. And so the connectedness that I felt, even though I felt alone, was like mind blowing to me in that sense. The right people were there that had little bits of the puzzle piece for us to be able to go after in terms of our learning.
Yeah, cool. That's amazing. What were you thinking? What were you saying? How were you responding through all of this as a mom?
Not very well. I think you do what you have to do in the moment because you don't have a choice. But when I compare where I am now to where I was back then, I was in a very dark place mentally and somewhat physically because you're running on empty fumes for the most part. And I tell people all the time, my faith has really sustained me through many, many things. But where I am now and the changes that we've made in the last year have really been pivotal for us.
Well, tell us about some of those changes that you have made, or where that pivot point was.
It sort of brings in my youngest son's story. So my youngest son just turned 4. We're coming up on the one year mark. Last year, about this time actually, we were hospitalized with our son. He stopped eating and drinking for 3 weeks, and we were hospitalized because he had severe bowel backup. He was also dealing with gastro. And so my youngest son has had food challenges pretty much his whole life. He had a tongue tie when he was a baby, the only one of the 3. Feeding was fine, but when he started to get to be 6 months and we were trying different foods, it just was so different than my other kids who also had their own like sensory things, but it was just so very different. And so knowing what I knew about health, and I spent countless hours trying to figure out how to nourish this child and to feed him. And it really was another really dark time for me because I felt like I was failing him. And so we did lots of feeding therapy. This was all during COVID. He was born in 2020. So you can imagine things are just that much harder, right? We ended up going to feeding therapy or having online feeding therapy. And I wasn't okay with the results, but I also knew that him not having a bowel movement for 5 to 7 days was not good. And I was really struggling with that. So I was surprised that that he stopped eating and drinking completely, but I wasn't surprised in the sense that I knew it was going to come to something of that sort. And so we got out of the hospital and he had lost 3 pounds that he didn't have to lose. And I said to my husband, I'm like, there has to be a different way. Like there has to be something else that we're missing. And I had loosely been starting to see a lot of things surface on the internet and through the Trim Healthy Mama groups that I was in about gut health and the importance of gut health and all of that. And so I started to do a deeper dive into that kind of prior to him being hospitalized. Not knowing that was going to be the catalyst. And so, yeah, like fast forward a year and I can't believe where we are now compared to where we were then.
Yeah. So what changes did you make?
I was looking for something easy because I was not functional. I had seen all the recipes to make the yogurt. I'd seen all the benefits of fermented foods, things. But when you're in a state of survival, you need something that's easy. And so we've always been okay with supplementation along our journey, a variety of different things. So I was always looking for things that I'm like, okay, well, what can we do that would be easy that I could get into them? And so I was introduced to a company called Amare. They are known as the mental wellness company, but they really focus on the gut and the brain connection together. And so we were really at rock bottom. And I said to my husband, we don't have anything to lose. So we were willing to give it a try. And honestly, within 90 days, I said to him, I can't even believe the difference in my entire family. We just we jumped off the deep end for everyone. And I just said, we can't go back there anymore. And so now I just get so lit up and fired up to talk to people about the gut brain connection and how it's really been helpful for our family.
You would attribute that change to Amare specifically, or were there any other changes that you made?
Yeah, I would. It's just, I never really made the connection that our mental wellness actually begins in our gut. And our gut communicates to our brain, and there are like trillions and trillions of bacteria in our gut, more than cells in our body, which is so fascinating to me. And so what we were taking and doing were specific herbs and biotics, so to speak, that had specific clinical data around supporting your mental wellness through the gut. And I was shocked at how much of a role that played for like all of my children in a variety of fashions, but especially for my youngest, who was a picky eater. And it's really been like a light bulb for him. He still has a lot of food challenges, but the fact that he is more open because his serotonin, which is your feel good neurotransmitter, it's actually created in your gut. It's not created in your brain. And so when we were able to increase that and decrease his cortisol, which is his stress hormone, crazy things started to happen. But what's even more crazy is the things that were helpful for my kids were also like mind-blowingly helpful in my own health. And I stand here today talking to you, like feeling like I am back, like as a kid, how I used to feel. Like I feel so much more myself. And I'm just so thankful that this little missing piece was something that we were able to figure out.
Rachel, that's key because I'm sure you have like less mental fog, you have more clarity, you probably can control the emotions a little bit more. You'd see the same thing with your children too, right? And we don't realize that it is all rooted in our gut health.
Yeah, completely. One of the things that was the eye opener too is antibiotic use. And I'll say this, like they have a place, they have a purpose, but for a lot of things they're overprescribed. And for my youngest son, he used to deal with chronic ear infections. And I wish I knew then what I knew now, and I would have made different choices to help him with those things, but it completely wiped out his gut microbiome. And even like antibiotic use, years ago that you have, if you're not intentional about replacing specific strains back in to your system, you're going to have a lot of trouble. But I felt like for me as a mom, speaking to the moms, I felt like I wasn't cut out for motherhood because I had no motivation. I felt sad and anxious all the time. I was snapping at my kids left, right, and center. And I just constantly felt overstimulated. And I was in a place of fight or flight. And my cortisol was through the roof. And as I have regulated my nervous system by way of these products, I can honestly say that life and the atmosphere in our home is so very different than it was a year ago.
Yeah, Rachel, that is so life-giving. It can be really easy for us as moms to be hard on ourselves when we are feeling tired and exhausted and short fused and feel like we are not a good mom or not cut out for motherhood. And we don't realize that there's more to it in our health that we can address. On the Renewed Mama podcast, we talk a lot about thinking right and speaking right and responding right. But there is so much more, which is why I really wanted to do these health episodes because we're a whole person, right? We're not just our words and we're not just our thoughts and we're not just our responses. It's our health too. We need to look at all of those aspects of our health. And one thing that we can overlook very easily is our gut health. So I love it that you're sharing this with us.
It's easy for us to let that be the last thing we think of because we do a lot of mind work and that's all scriptural and biblical. But for me, it was like there's actually physically something off in my body throughout. And one of the big things that stuck with me that I've learned is that trauma, and we don't dictate how our body takes anything that goes on in our life. Trauma wipes out your gut microbiome. And so I knew that once I found that out, I'm like, it's no wonder that I'm not keeping up with life and being able to do these things. And so rather than continue to beat myself up about how I was feeling, and I was like, I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to give this a try and actually see if I notice a difference. And I can't go a day without it right now because it has made that much of a difference in my life in terms of how I feel, how I can show up for my kids, how I can show up for my husband, the energy that I have. Like I would nap for hours or at least in the afternoon on the couch. I could not keep my eyes open. And now I'm like doing dishes at 9:30 at night some nights because it needs to be done. And I still have the energy to do it. It's the most incredible thing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love hearing how Amare has blessed your family and you've seen such an improvement. Tell us some more success stories of how it has helped other families.
I was invited to be a part of a testimony group, and I spent so many nights just scrolling through, and I honestly couldn't even believe some of the things I was reading, like especially when it came to children and being able to help regulate their mood and their focus. A lot of kids, like as a homeschool mom, like it's hard to get your kids to stay focused on a task. And so learning about saffron and how in the UK they actually prescribe that as a first line defense for children who have focus issues. That's all I can say while I'm on a podcast. But here in Canada, that's not what we do. We are quick to be able to prescribe them something over the counter. But because the gut and the brain work together, if you're only focused here, you miss out. You're missing the communication between these two things. And so reading about kids who were not able to keep up with their homework, and now all of a sudden they're coming home and doing their homework on their own, or just kids who had like other anxiousness struggles going to school and those types of things, and just reading other stories from other moms who are like, I can't even believe that this seems so simple and yet it has such a ripple effect. And I think that's what I've learned in the process too, is just the ripple effect is not just in my own life, but because I am working on things inside my body, I then have a ripple effect out in my family. Because even if I hadn't have put my kids on everything that we've done, the fact that I had done the work for myself already would have shifted the atmosphere in my home. But because we decided to do it together, then we have like the full circle benefits because they are also feeling better. They're feeling happier. They're more motivated. Yeah.
That's amazing. So, Rachel, I am sure that there's like hundreds of moms out there who are like, please, please tell me, like, how can I get that for myself and for my family? How can you hook us up, Rachel?
I love having conversations with people. It's about starting good conversations with people and saying, is this something that maybe could be missing link for me? I just love to talk about it. I recently went through to get my mental wellness certification because I need to shout it from the rooftops and I need other people to know about it. But if you want to track along with my journey, I've got two places that you can do that. Through Instagram, I am at VDH Fam. And there I kind of share a little bit about our story, a little bit about homeschooling, a little bit about faith and just life in general. And then I'm on TikTok, which I never thought I would be on TikTok, but I went there specifically to be able to share our son's journey with picky eating. And so over there, you can find me at don't.dread.dinner. And so I'm there just sharing his story and the things that have been helpful for him.
Very good. Okay, well, I will leave all those links in the show notes. Rachel, if there is one thing that you could tell moms you want them to know, what would you tell them?
No, I want moms to know that you're doing the best you can with what you know now. And certain things send us down a path where we have to learn new things, and that's okay. But in the process of that, we cannot forget ourselves and our own health, our mental health, our spiritual health, because when we are not well, our family cannot be well. And so it's really important not to put ourselves at the bottom of the pile as we so often do, but to really just think about small things. Maybe it's not completely changing your supplements or anything like that. Maybe it's just spending a few minutes to be able to read a passage of scripture or think about 3 things that you're thankful for, or just get out into the sunshine and, walk up and down your driveway a few times too. The small things that we do in our life, they add up and they have a compound effect. And so wherever you find yourself, I just want you to know that you just have to take the next step. It might be big, it might be little, I don't know, but the encouragement is to not stay where you are, especially if you're in a state where you feel like you're surviving. That's not what God has for you. And He wants us to live life to the fullest. And He gives us so many resources and tools and people to come into our life and help us take the next step.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Rachel, for sharing all of that with us.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so thankful to have this opportunity to be able to share.
Wasn't that fantastic? Tell us in the comments what you learned from this conversation. Rachel and I would love to hear from you. You heard what Rachel has been through and how she is so thankful to be on the other side, having her life back. If you were saying, I need that, I want that too, reach out to Rachel. I know she would love to talk to you. Her contact information is in the show notes. If this episode helped you, share this with another mama you know. Stay tuned for more conversations around renewing your health and your home through exercising, supporting your adrenals and thyroid, pelvic floor health, detoxing your home, and more. Remember, mama, that if you are wishing for a coach, an accountability partner, another mama to talk to help you to renew your thoughts, your words, and responses, I'm all yours. I know what it's like to be stuck in my thoughts, my words, and responses. I loved being a mother, but I didn't like the mama I was, the wife I was, how I was responding, so short-tempered, easily frustrated, annoyed, and critical. But I didn't know how to change, how to do better, how to be more patient and not take my frustration out on my kids and my husband until I got coached. And I'm here to help you get coached too. Go to renewedmamacoaching.com and book your first coaching session with me. If any of the available half-hour chat times don't work for you, tell me what times do work and I'll make it happen in my schedule. Your parenting, the peace in your home, better relationships with your children, less outbursts and temper tantrums, and a strong, positive mom mindset can be yours. Go to renewedmamacoaching.com and book your first coaching session with me. If the Renewed Mama podcast encourages you, would you leave a review on Apple Podcasts and YouTube? Your review helps the podcast to grow so that more mamas find it and can stay renewed too. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for listening to the Renewed Mama podcast. I appreciate you. I care about you so much. For more resources, visit the Renewed Mama podcast, Renewed Mama Coaching, Speak Life Badges, and Austin's Kids Club. Do you want your words of encouragement and praise to have a lasting impact on your children? Then give them Speak Life Badges Sticker Awards. Here's what Erica had to say about Speak Life Badges. Today I challenged Clayton to take a baby step in bravery at the splash pad. I know these little word seeds of encouragement will grow and help him when he needs bravery in the future. At bedtime, I removed the sticker and placed it beside the mirror. Just glancing at it really encouraged my heart too. Words seem so small, but are so powerful and can completely change the way we view ourselves. Shop Speak Life Badges today at speaklifebadges.com. Austin the Hedgehog is bringing mailbox fun to your kids. Your children ages 3 to 13 can receive mailbox surprises like activity postcards, happy birthday cards, stickers, crafts, recipe cards, coloring pages, puzzles, special gifts like the I Am Loved journal, a tumbler, Austin's matching happy birthday toque, and so much more from Austin the Hedgehog, straight to your mailbox with their own name on it each month. all teaching life lessons such as helping, using time wisely, how to monitor their own screen time, how to choose the right friends. Being strong means more than just muscles, how to have self-control, and their words are like seeds that will grow into fruit in their life. It is oh so good from Austin the Hedgehog. 2 subscription levels are available. Register your children today at austinskidsclub.com.